Nithyanandeshwara Sada Shiva Samarambam Nithyanandeshwari Adi Shakti Madhyamam Asmadacharya Parayantam Vande Guru Paramparam. I welcome all of you with my love and respects. I welcome everyone sitting with us all over the world through Nithyananda TV, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, Facebook Live and two-way video conferencing, having Nayana Diksha. I welcome every one of you with my love and respects. Let me enter into the deeper sciences of creating space. Yesterday I was giving an explanation, the example, state is the bow, the action of putting the arrow on the string and pulling it back is creating space and releasing it to go and manifest the reality you want is manifesting powers. Understand? In Hindu tradition, archery was never all about aiming an object or killing an object or attacking an object. It was very primary. Even if you want water, Bhishma, in his deathbed, wants Ganga water to quench his thirst. Nobody is running with a pot or a vessel, sombu or bucket. Immediately Arjuna picks up the bow, calls for Varunastra, and water comes up. So understand, in Hindu tradition, archery has a different purpose. It's called Dhanurvidya. I am actually looking out for somebody who will spend their time so I can manifest this whole Dhanurvidya through them. No, still I have not found the right person. Maybe I'll evolve from my Gurukul itself. Understand, Dhanur Vidya does not need Dhanur. Only in the initial level you need to have the bow, string, arrow, all that physically. Once you master the science, none of that is physically touched. If you are a regular satsangis, many of my gestures and sounds, many concepts, I don't need to utter a word. You know what I am saying? Same way in Dhanurvidya, Cosmos understands what you are gesturing. Immediately Cosmos responds. Just like regular satsangis, Nitya satsangis are already in tune with what I am trying to convey, see, only in those moments that Sami Unnada happens. Actually, if you listen to that word Sami Unnada, no meaning. Because 99.99% has happened through the body language transmission. Understand? In body language transmission ability is romance. Romance means both of you are able to convey through your body language the innermost corners of your heart to each other. Understand? Everything else is lust, not romance. Relationship is totally different from sexual exchanges. Understand? Romance is the foundation of relationship, not sexual exchange. That whole Sami Unnada movement is extraordinary romance, where he is able to convey the highest Vedantic truth in such an ordinary colloquial village term, which does not have any meaning if it is taken out from that scene. Like Tattvamasi Svedakedo, Tattvamasi. When Master uttered that word, Tattvamasi, immediately Svedakedu became enlightened. From that time, in every Veda Patashala, every Acharya, I don't know how many thousand times they are uttering Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi. Understand? There is so much snow in the Himalayas. So much ice, but the ice which decides to melt and flow only becomes the sacred Ganga. Not all. There is so much ice, but the ice which decides to melt and flow only becomes sacred Ganga. There is so much of Sadashiva, understand? The raw material, the source material, Sadashiva, is everywhere. But the raw material which decides to melt down and flow as shakti only manifests in you as power. There is so much ice in the Himalayas, but the ice which decides to melt and flow only becomes sacred Ganga. There is so much of raw material, Sadashivatva, in all of us, but only the raw material which decides to melt, the Sadashiva which decides to melt and flow only manifests as powers, which decides to melt and only manifests as shaktis. Like sun creates the Vatavarana for the ice to melt and flow. Understand? Sun itself does not melt. Then all the ice should have melted? No. Sun creates the Vatavarana. So any ice which wants to melt can come up and melt and flow. Sun itself cannot melt all the ice. Even after the sun comes, you decide not to melt and hide somewhere, you can't be melted. Sun only creates the Vatavarana for you to melt. Same way, the Vatavarana, the Sadashivatva in you to melt and flow, manifest as shaktis, is responsibility. Understand? When Sadashiva takes responsibility, he flows as shakti. In all of us, Sadashiva is there. But in which form? Morning, the great asana you like, Savasana? In that form. Only when the responsibility sun rises and you decide to take the responsibility, the Vatavarana, the ambience of responsibility, decision to be responsible, melts that Shava and flows as Shakti, makes you Shiva. Understand? It is Ganga makes Himalaya great. If the Ganga does not flow to the plains, we don't care about Himalayas. Even the Himalayas has how many billion tons of ice? Who cares? Poles have 100 times more ice than the Himalayas. But who cares? Because Ganga is not flowing from poles. North Pole and South Pole has million times more ice than the Himalayas. But why Himalayas is revered, respected, worshipped? Because it flows as Ganga. Even if you have million times more ice and you don't flow as Ganga, nobody will care. It is Ganga makes Himalaya sacred. Understand? If you flow as Shakti, that makes your Sadashivatva sacred. You are as much as Sadashiva as me. The only difference is I have created the ambience of responsibility and melt myself and flow as Shakti. When I flow as Shakti, because of the Ganga, understand, Himalayas is respected. You are like a North Pole and South Pole. North Pole and South Pole is like Shava. Yes, they have raw material to be Shiva, but only when they melt and flow as Ganga, they will be Sadashiva. Till then, they are only in Shavasana. You being in Savasana, used to whom? Listen. Responsibility is the ambience in which you can melt and flow. I tell you, every opportunity in the Sangha is to melt yourself and flow as Shakti. Every opportunity is to melt and flow as Shakti. People who flow for the sake of electronic zeros in your bank computer reach the same place after your death. Gupera Loka. In Gupera Loka, the only work you have is there will be huge gold mountains and huge diamond mountains. You will be sitting as a god, Yaksha. This mountain is mine. This mountain behind me, mine. What is the use? Whoever comes that say, hey, come here. Do you see? See others' mountains? Mine is 3 inches taller. 3 inch means calculate length, breadth, depth. So much diamond. That fellow, poor sadhu, he doesn't understand. Diamond means what? We can make a begging bowl for me in that. Because he knows only one thing, that begging bowl, Thiruvodu. Enna Sami, vayarangra. Thiruvodu panna mudiyuma adula? அதுக்கு இந்த யக்ஷன் அடப்பிக்காளி பயலே, திருவோடு பண்ண முடியுமான்னு கேட்டிய, மானத்தை வாங்கிட்டியடா. இதில் ஒரு கட்டி எடுத்துகிட்டு போய் ஊருக்குள்ளே விற்றினா மார்க்கெட்டில் இருக்கிற பணத்தை வச்சுல காலமெல்லாம் ஜென்மமெல்லாம் சாப்பிடலாம் போய்டா. சாமி, நீ கட்டியை விற்கிறதுக்கு மார்க்கெட் போகணும், நான் பிச்சை எடுக்கிறதுக்கு மார்க்கெட் போகணும். 2 பேரும் மார்க்கெட் போனால் தான் லைஃப். அட இங்கே ஏன்டா உட்காந்து காலத்தை வேஸ்ட் பண்ணுற, வாடா மார்க்கெட்டுக்கு போகலாம். கட்டியை விற்கணும்னாலும் பிச்சை எடுக்கணும்னாலும் மார்க்கெட்டுக்கு தான் போய் ஆகணும். அப்போ whether you want to realize the value of the diamond or you want to beg, both have to reach the world. Both need to take the responsibility. So even wealth is wealth only if you take responsibility to make it current. Yaksha is not Lakshmi. Gupera is not Lakshmi. This whole story, beautiful story of Venkateshwara borrowing from Gupera for his marriage, is an amazing concept. He is making Yaksha into Lakshmi. He is making reserve to reserve. Understand? He is making the reserve to reserve. Dam has no use if you can't produce current out of it and reach it to people. It's an amazing truth. There's a village folk story where Venkateshwara borrows from Gubera for his marriage and he is still paying the debt. Arey, don't you understand? It is an amazing truth. Fellow who has a Lakshmi on his chest need to borrow from Gubera. It's one of the important truth revealed. Venkateshwara takes the responsibility of reserve to reserve. And the story ends with a beautiful line. Till the end of Kali Yuga, he will be paying only the interest. In the end of the Kali Yuga only, he will pay the whole capital. If he pays the capital, the current will stop, the economy will stop, whole thing will become part of the reserve, and life is over. Understand? Responsibility makes reserve into current. All the great things standing today are not because of the wealth those owners had, reserve those owners had. No. Many kings had more reserve than Rajaraja. But whatever is standing on the planet Earth now, declaring their name and glory, is not the reserve they had, but the responsibility they took. There were many more kings in the history who had 100 times more reserve and resources than Rajaraja. It is not the reserve and resources you have will be celebrated. The responsibility you took only will be celebrated. Stupid are those who work for yaksha, dead economy. The danger of dead economy is always Ravana will capture it. Ravana captured the whole, just like that in one declaration, he captured the whole thing from Kubera and made Kubera pauper. Listen carefully. Responsibility makes you current, living, rich. Not the so-called resources. From the beginning I want my balasans to know, in your advent on the planet Earth, the responsibility you take matters here or in other planes, not the dead zeros in your bank computer. It is not even a zeros in a paper. In those days there used to be a passbook. So in that book the zeros will be there. Now it is not even that. It is only the computer generated numerical zeros. That is why in somebody's account suddenly sometime few hundred crores appear and in somebody's account everything disappears. Computerized numerical zeros swallowing your life, and that dictating what you should be doing, how you should be living, is being a slave of not even knowing to whom you are a slave. I tell you, even if you know that you are slave to somebody, it is Maya, and being a slave to something without even knowing to whom you are a slave is Maya matrix. Even if you are a dog, slave, held by your owner, I can say little decent. Because owner cannot hold all the dogs, he puts them all in a prison and you are there rotting. That is worse. Dog in the hands of the owner is at least under Maya. Dogs which are in the prison are in the Maya matrix. All of you are in Maya matrix. If you are working for electronic zeros in your bank account, understand the responsibility you take and how much of your Sadashivatva melts down and flows as shaktis is your achievement in the universe. Because this melting and flowing will be useful for you whether you have the body or not. Understand? Learn to melt and become shakti when you are young, when you are able, when your life is available, when you are bubbling, overflowing with life existence. Learn to flow, melt down before the fat settles around your waist. Learn to melt into shakti before the fat settles around your waist. Before your mind cognizes tiredness and boredom by common collective misunderstandings. Understand? A great recipe for depression. No, the more and more of common collective life negative cognitions are eaten by you. Common collective negative cognitions. You become old. Old means common collective negative cognitions becoming part of you. Is you becoming old. There is always a big riot goes on in our Sangha. Who is old and who is young? Somebody claiming, I am your younger sister, and somebody claiming, I am your younger brother. 45 claims, I am your younger sister, and 95 claims, I am your younger brother. And 85 claims, no, still I am not born. நான் இன்னும் பிறக்கவே இல்லடா. Oh, there is a big riot going on. I wanted to finish this problem once for all. An answer. The depth of common collective life negative cognitions in you decides your age. I tell you, many common collective negative cognitions will be so freezing, you will not even feel like moving your hands and jumping. What is there to jump? What is there to celebrate? Fool, what is not there to celebrate? Stomach is full with his prasada, eyes are full with his form, heart is full with his love. What more is there not to celebrate? Let the depression be enjoyed by the atheists. Why are you guys asking for their lifestyle and their share? Don't steal from them. It is their property. Aparigraha. Don't steal depression from atheists. Atheists have not only first right, sole right over depression. You guys trying to grab his asteya, disturbing the vow of asteya. அப்படிலாம் திருடப்படாது. டிப்ரெஷன் அவா சொத்து, அதெல்லாம் தொடப்படாது. Don't try to steal depression from atheists. That is the only thing they are left with. They neither have Sadashiva, nor have incarnation of Sadashiva, or have a juicy incarnation of Sadashiva. Eating breakfast in the morning is different. Eating prasad in the morning is different. Prasada can be breakfast. Breakfast cannot become prasada. Prasada can be breakfast. Breakfast cannot become prasada. Understand? The depth of collective negative cognitions in you decides whether you are old or young. Alive, active, living. No complication, confusion, completion messages every day. I am completing with you, Swamiji. I am not doing this. I am not doing this. I am completing with you. Why don't you make it as a standard email and every night it automatically goes? There are many softwares, auto email softwares. Why don't you do that? Just only change the problem you created that day. If you read your completion emails, even you will feel sick. Reading everyone's completion emails and not feeling sick is the definition of incarnation. listen, the complication, confusion, completion pattern is the permanent marks left in your consciousness as a symptom of old age. I'll repeat. Complicated, confused completion patterns are the permanent marks of the symptom you are old. The permanent wrinkles and wrinkles left in your consciousness due to the old age. Life is filled. Stomach is filled with his prasada. Eyes are filled with his form. Heart is filled with his love. Ears are filled with his teachings. Mind is filled with his cognitions. Space is filled with his initiation. Life is filled with his bliss, his sannyasa. It is responsibility that makes Shava into Shakti, ultimately Shiva. The Vatavarana of responsibility makes Shaktipada happen in you and makes you Shiva. Understand? The horses in the army which runs in the front always wins and comes back. Which are in the behind and gets pulled, dies before even going to the war field. Horses in the army, which runs in the front, goes, wins, comes back. The horses which are behind, gets dragged and pulled, does not want to come, dies before even going to the war field. Are you going to be the horses in the front or in the behind getting dragged, pulled? I tell you, life is Kurukshetra. If you decide to be responsible, you are the frontline horses. Go, conquer, win, achieve, be victorious, manifest Shaktis. Or be there getting dragged. Naturally, rope is in the neck. Pulled, dragged. Death before even reaching the war field. Unit of life is responsibility. Based on the responsibility you cognize, powers are manifested in you. Understand? Not the cheating. In responsibility also you have an inner image responsibility separate, outer image responsibility separate. Outer image responsibilities, everyone should become Sadashivatva. Inner image responsibility, let's have a big beach house and vacation house and sleep. Taking rest is a preventive method to stop being affected by the disease of chronic fatigue. So before the tiredness disease attacks me, let me take preventive measurement of taking rest. Why are you sleeping whole day? Tiredness disease may come to me. What will happen? Let me take rest and stop tiredness coming to me. Tongue filled with his name and nose filled with his smell, skin filled with his hug. Emotions filled with emotions. Nyasa means purifying. That is why Anganyasa, Karanyasa. Sannyasa means purifying everything. Sarvanyasa is sannyasa. You invoke the sacred sounds to purify the kara and anga, hands and parts of your body. You need to invoke the divine itself to purify everything. Your will filled with his responsibility. Third eye filled with his vision. Two eyes filled with his vision. Third eye filled with his vision. Two eyes filled with his vision, third eye filled with his vision. Understand? Essence of today's satsang. Responsibility makes Shava into Shiva. When Shava flows as shakti, it becomes Shiva. Flow as shakti is the hashtag for today's satsang. And put the satsang's essence and with the hashtag flow as shakti, tag me. So with this, I bless you all. Let's all radiate with integrity, authenticity, responsibility, enriching, causing, living Shuddhatvaita Saivam, Sada Shivoham, the eternal bliss, Nithyananda. Thank you. Be blissful.